Folks, welcome to the latest installment of our Coaches Connect call. Today, I'm Coach Jeremy. We're drawing a little bit of inspiration from our PN coaches community today. Before we jump into those conversations, Sharif is here and he wants your help on any recommendations, hopefully from personal use, of any apps or any platforms that you use to help create your social content. Specifically, I believe you said Reels for Instagram is what you're looking for, correct? Cool. Uh, Folks here, I know Zubair, we were talking to you yesterday or last week about social media, some tools to use. That question came up. Uh, any recommendations from you personally, and hopefully an update on your social media progression?
Yes. So it's slowly but surely going in the right direction. I did get CapCut and started playing around with it. So, Sharif, that is something that another coach recommended was CapCut. There's a free version. It has a lot of features in it. Another one that I started playing with that I have kind of all my brand stuff in is Canva. So I do pay for the pro version, which is just $10 a month. Um, but that even has like pre-made videos in there, and then you can put your own information on top of them. So there's templates and pre-made videos, and it's all drag and drop. So even making videos is drag and drop. So I'm not like a video editor, so CapCut is pretty simple, but Canva is even more simple if you need something kind of simple. And I completely agree with you. I don't have the time and energy to spend 3 hours making a 5-second clip, right? And I don't have the money just yet, or I can't justify paying a video editor to do it. So I'm starting small, right? Just using some pre-recorded stuff that's already out there, adding my own little magic sauce on top of it, right? And then publishing it. Yeah. And I'm gonna drop my Instagram in the chat. Sorry, I gotta self-promote myself. I'll stop my drop it in the chat, so and you guys feel free to follow or not, or criticize even. Thank you.
Is that going to have your latest posts are going to be up there so we can see that action was taken?
I just started. Yes, yes, there are posts on there. Yeah, you
Cool.
you
So
held
yeah,
me accountable,
normally
Jeremy. I appreciate that, and that was
normally
free coaching too.
self-promotion. Yeah, I mean normally self-promotion is something that we'll take occasionally if it's germane to the conversation, but it sounds like this one is you giving an update on the thing that you said you were going to do, so we will allow it. But thank you for that update as well as those recommendations. So far we have CapCut, which is yes, that was one that came up multiple times. Many coaches had recommended that application, so you may want to look into that, Sharif, as well as Canva, which actually kind of relates a little bit to the conversation that we'll bring up shortly. Sharif, have you tried any tools as yet?
I already use CapCut, but I find it
Mhm,
very time consuming
mhm.
and requires
And
someone to be dedicating a lot of time to create good content.
fair.
Canva, I only used it for designs, but not for video. I never used it for videos, for reels. I only use it for designs if I want to have a photo with the caption on it, play with the design, pick a template that I want to use. But I think I need something that makes it easier.
So, Sharif, one other thing is there's some AI tools, right? Where you just put the raw video in, and it will kind of generate something for you, spit it out, and it's cool
Is this on
quality.
Canva or on CapCut?
No, there are other tools. I'll have to look up the name and I'll put it in the chat for you. Um, but basically, you just point it to like your files, and it will make a video for you. But then you kind of lose a piece of control as well, right? And then if you want to
Mhm.
make edits, then maybe that might take you more time as well too. So there's control versus simplicity, right? Kind of you're
Mm.
fighting the two.
I think if you have an application that uses AI to pick from certain videos that you select, that might get the best of both worlds. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So a flex clip is one of them, and vMaker AI.
What's the difference between them?
I I don't know the details. I've only tried Flex
Okay.
Clip. It's similar to CapCut, but it has some AI built into it. I have not
Mm.
tried VMaker AI yet. Also, one other thing, if you try them and if you like them, both of these are available on AppSumo. So on AppSumo, instead of paying monthly, you just pay one time and you get lifetime access to it. So
Mm.
yeah, I'll stop there. Sorry,
Thanks,
guys.
Zubair.
Yeah, and just a reminder that this conversation could potentially be sponsored by AppSumo. If they ever see this, remember, we gave you free promo once, not again. Uh, Thank you for those recommendations, Zubair. Sharif, does that give you some places to play?
Yes, I think I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check the the things inside each of them and see what works best.
Cool. Tony, you had your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to contribute as well?
Yeah, I would just wanted to add that even before you go do all that, I would look at your intent with your social. If you're trying to, generate conversations or trying to get appointments or what you're actually trying to do with that first. And then I would back it up and look at all your previous analytics for like the last 6 months to a year and see which of your posts are really resonating with your audience. Because I've created like top tier, videos, cartoons, and that stuff doesn't seem to do as well as me just coming on the camera and doing something more authentic. So before you go into just chasing things, I would back it up and be like, what's the purpose of this? What content of mine is already performing? And what am I trying to get out of it? Because you can get really lost in the weeds. And I've made some fantastic videos that didn't do anything. And I've had one where I'm just, I'm doing push-ups with my son, and that had like, thousands of views and stuff. So just a caveat to keep in mind.
Actually, it's a very controversial thing you just mentioned. And from my experience with social media for the past 6 months, closely analyzing everything, the thing that I think is most important on social media is speaking to a specific pain or needs or emotions. Whatever the piece of content you create, if you know specifically what are you trying to say, I think this makes the perfect sense for some people, and it will bring conversations. There is no specific type that showed to be more successful and effective than the others if it doesn't have this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, you want to
So
have
it could be
different.
they can differ. The content can differ in
Mhm.
how it looks like and how it's created. But at the end of the day, if it's honest, speaking to a problem or an emotion for people, this what brings good momentum of things. Could be conversations, could be likes, could be shares, could be I don't know. So whatever interest, whatever analytics you are looking for, I think this is the key of creating good content.
Yeah, no, and I think you might already have it. I think you might already have it.
The difficulty is narrowing down the audience. That's the difficult part for me because if it's not very narrow, it becomes very difficult for you to create the content that resonate with the right people. That's the difficult part. I have been having discussions with Jeremy for this for so many calls. I always tackle things related to how to narrow down your niche, how can you make your ideal client clear to you so you can create the right content for them to attract them. Because you don't want to attract the wrong client. You don't want to attract someone you don't want to work with. So if you take photos of yourself shirtless with the six packs and try to grab the wrong client who wants to pay $5 per month, that's probably not what you want. So
Right.
it's very important that you know in the first place who do you want to work with, what problems are they facing. So it always comes down to the clarity you have around what you want as a coach. I think so.
Cool. Tony, I think that is a very valuable addition as well in terms of taking more of that 1,000 foot view, zoom out a little bit, and understand a little bit more regarding what is it that I actually want to present here. Sharif, you also mentioned as well, like the difference between making good and great content, it may not be kind of the resolution of the image or how smooth the transition is or the color scheme that you use. It is very much more so what is the content of the message? And then specifically, does it address the pain points that I believe my clients are experiencing? So spending an inordinate amount of time understanding the problem, being able to show and demonstrate solutions to the problem, show your understanding for that problem is likely more valuable than what specific form of media do I use or what tool do I use to craft the imagery for it. Yeah, that is always a valuable lesson to share. And hopefully for folks who are kind of in the same space where it's like, I want to put up my message, but I don't think that the resolution of this image is good enough or the video is good enough. It's like remembering that the message itself is probably more valuable than the imagery that you share and being able to really make it very clear to your audience of, hey, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve.
It's a struggle that I have inside me always. The message versus the quality of the content and how it looks and the surrounding and the background and it's always it's an ongoing struggle because you cannot sometimes help it if you find like a post took very low likes, like even if it
Yeah.
has the right message, part of you is not satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all at some human level crave kind of that validation from saying like, oh yeah, this resonated with my audience. It got a lot of interaction, therefore like that must be the right thing. Chasing that beast can be a wily tale of heartache, I will say. So as I shared, I think in our conversation last week, uh, one of the goals of our social media approach is that any content that we create, if you add in kind of the goal of it has to help me in some way, if it helps me to further refine my message, to better understand my coaching approach, to kind of plant my flag and say, hey, this is more what I'm about, then it becomes less about the external validation and more so that I can clearly kind of articulate what it is that I stand for. And that counts for something as well. Before we move on to our next conversation, anyone else have any specifics in terms of tools that they can share with Sharif?
I can help
Anna,
with,
you got something?
yeah, I can help if it's something that can be manipulated in Illustrator. If it's just something I can do in 5 minutes, I'll just do it. But
Oh, in terms of like creating content, is that something that you offer as a service?
I can like rasterize images. So if you have a logo that has a name, but you change the name, that kind of thing, like I can fix that kind of thing. Yeah, that's something I do.
Cool. Well, then I think this is a good jumping off point for the next conversation. So I mentioned at the top of our call today for folks who are just joining us that there are two conversations that I'm drawing directly from our PN Coaches Connect group or our PN Coaches community. And one of those is regarding a coach who is looking for advice on how to create their branding around their coaching. I assume it's their social pages or their web pages or some sort of their online presence. And it sounds like this is something you've maybe done before. I'm curious to know if you have any advice for coaches on how to begin to create their branding.
Oh, there are a lot of ways. One of the experts who I tuned into, she had some great ideas about creating, beautifying your imagery in your profile for like Instagram. So for the fall, you would have sort of a mosaic of different colors, different backgrounds, and you can manipulate that. And so when somebody opens it, it's sort of almost like a bouquet of flowers. And that was just kind of a feel good, like it was her. Anyway, so it's nice to keep things pretty. I also think keeping things to the point, short, and with exactly who you have in mind. Everybody's already given so many great points. What I guess, yeah, I don't really have that much on this. I'll think about it and put something in chat if I come up with something better.
Cool. I'm curious to know if anyone here has just directly from the comments for this coach, and that coach was Latasha Burks. Shout out to you, Latasha, for getting vulnerable here and looking for some guidance. So hopefully, maybe you'll stumble across this video when we post the replay. Uh, but Fiverr was one that came up quite often. Has anyone here used Fiverr to find a professional to help you with either crafting any branding or any imagery or anything of that nature? Tony, what do you got?
I've used Fiverr to a good extent for everything from like designing my welcome kit for my clients to branding to doing a landing page. So it's been an excellent resource. But even before, like if I would talk to Latasha, I think a lot of times now we get too caught up in not presenting our personality with these things. So I look at, when I see other coaches, I look at who they are, then I go to their website and it's like not even the same person. And so when there's that
Mhm.
disconnect, then people don't connect to you because they're hiring coaches because of your personality. So, but like I said, I don't know her, but that's just what I see generally. I'm like, oh, I go to their website. It's like, well, who is this person? That's the person I talk to. And so by having that lens first of what you are, who you're about, and who you serve, I think it's a lot easier to connect with people. That most of the people, like, I'm an online coach. I'm doing this stuff for a long time. They, it's people that I know. Very seldom is it people from the internet that come and hire me. It's people that know me generally, and they're just going for that
Right.
reassurance from that website or my socials.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see that it sounds like a glowing endorsement for Fiverr and exploring there to find a professional. And then also a very useful and tactful reminder that many people who find us are going to be people who already have some sort of attachment to us, either through we already know them personally or they're people who are within our expanded network. But having that updated website and that landing page definitely adds an air of legitimacy to the work that we're doing. Anna, what do you have?
So I studied with a voice coach, and what I was trying to
Mhm.
do was I just wanted to feel more comfortable speaking in front of the camera because I was suddenly pushed onto Zoom, and I never even liked my picture being taken. And with such a relief, he, one of the main things he taught us was getting grounded before you begin, really getting into your body and presencing the back of your body more than the front. So we walk forward, we see everything. And when you bring presence to the back of your body, and by that I mean literally in your mind, just feeling the whole back of your body, you become more approachable and more grounded. It's a grounding technique. He had several that he helped us with. The other, just a couple of great bits he shared. Really visualize that your best friend, someone who loves you, you can do no wrong with, is on the other side of the camera, and that's your friend. And remembering to smile. We worked through a lot of jaw massage. I find so many people come up and they're like, I am really going to help you. And they're serious because they want to help. And then you just like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And so it's really off-putting to be super tight,
Mhm.
So getting to recording it so that you're really comfortable saying whatever it is and then letting it flow. He definitely discouraged having a full script. Some
Mhm.
points are fine, but you don't want to be speaking from a script. It's just not going to come out as you, even though you wrote it. So
Awesome, very useful. Just looking in the chat box, uh, nutrition by I'm Surly. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Asked if you can repeat the first visualization again.
the about oh
One of the
first, oh
visualizations that your coach shared with you.
so presencing the back of the body. Um,
Mhm.
This is a really great thing you can do. So you can do it a number of ways. So right now I'm just thinking about feeling the back of my head all the way down my spine. And I'm sitting on a ball, so I'm grounded there. And then I'm taking that down the back of my legs to my feet. You can also imagine that your eyeballs are set on the back of your head and do this while you're walking and look forward. The idea is that it draws circulation to the back of your brain and it's naturally calming. I also do
Mhm.
this some friends who've been in assisted living. It's a really tense situation. Or if you're in, crowded Costco or wherever you are, it's nice to just be able to get your eyes on the back of your head and look forward and around, and it just sort of opens your view.
Gotcha. Very useful. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome. Helps with pain too, pain relief.
Cool. Anyone else have any tips for starting the process of creating their branding? Zubair.
Yeah, so kind of what I've done in the tech world and then in like my business school stuff was, there's a lot of resources to help you organize and framework your thoughts. So with business, there's the lean canvas and there's like minimum viable product. There's also all of that for the branding as well too. So there's a brand canvas and there's a minimum viable brand and a brand pyramid. So those kind of three I would start with to look at what is the actual messaging behind your brand. I would say what is the motivation, and then from the motivation we get to the messaging, right? So and then from the messaging we get to the brand pillars, and from brand pillars then we get to the actual content that you're going to create. So a lot of that you can kind of think through it by using those frameworks. It's quite helpful a lot of times because I'm the kind of person, my thoughts are all over the place, right? So if I don't sit down and say, okay, who am I actually empathizing with? Who am I actually working towards, right? Then I'll kind of get too quickly distracted. So I think using some existing frameworks, just like we have the frameworks for coaching, right? Just like we have the frameworks for nutrition, there's frameworks for business and marketing and for brand development as well too. So but a lot of people don't understand what brand is, but essentially it's actually more of an emotive type of reaction, right? What's the emotion that your customer or potential customer has when they see your brand and it aligns with everything else that you are putting out? You're putting out, content. Is that the same type of messaging, the same quality of messaging? Does it invoke the same feelings as how you actually coach people, what your website says, right? What all your other content says, does that all align together? And so that helps a lot. And that's why and then that builds trust. That has its own value and equity as well too. And that's why you have people line up for hours to buy a phone that really is the same as the previous year's phone. I'll stop there, but yeah. So brand canvas, brand pyramid, and minimal viable brand, I think are three things to start with.
Awesome. Do you have any way to locate those resources? Like if you Google them, would something come up from there, or were those resources that you got from some of your continuing education experiences?
Yeah, so they're all available for free online. You can find pictures and download PDFs that you can fill out and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Very useful. Thank you. I'm gonna also pop some of my own experience into the chat box here. So this is something that I actually think an AI chatbot is actually really good at. If you can ask a useful prompt. So this was the one that I found to be the most useful for me. So if we're looking at, let's say, a color scheme, or if you're looking for branding, I asked it for like kind of a basic question, color scheme for a fitness business, and then going from there, based on what you know about me, what additional questions would you ask to help clarify some of my brand scheme kind of imagery? And the questions that it asked were really insightful. There were things like, what kind of energy do you want to evoke? And it gave you kind of a spectrum of like buzzy, exciting to calm, relaxing. And then I assume once you continue to answer those questions, it can give you a more refined response. But it started with like a really long and thorough list of questions. And if you're kind of grasping at straws right now, if you're in Latasha's shoes, where it's like there's so many possible avenues that can take this, I think, like Zubair was saying, and like Anna was saying as well, this is a way for you to kind of clarify some of your intent and ambitions behind what your brand represents, and then go from there. And then things should have a little bit more of a streamlined approach, as opposed to the entire world is my oyster. I can pick kind of anything here. Another example here that could be useful is, by and large, just is there a fitness industry business or someone who is already kind of doing the thing that you want to do? Are there elements that you can borrow from them? Remembering that it's like I probably wouldn't steal someone's branding 100% and just copy and paste it and just like change PN to JF and then make that my brand. But there are certainly elements that I can take from those other businesses and remember that it's like at the end of the day, the message that I share is what is sharing my unique qualities as a coach. Someone could rip off your business and take everything 100%, but if it doesn't feel unique to them, it's likely not going to have the same influence that they wanted to have because it doesn't represent their unique qualities as a coach, their unique experiences, and the way that they actually work with clients. So hopefully we'll get this to Latasha at some point in the future, and then that gives them a little bit more insight that they can follow to help with their branding mission. Before we move on, coaches, anyone here who is currently working through their own branding or has any more insight to share on this discussion?
Jeremy, I would just add the preface that because I had this a lot with with my trainers before where it's another form of kind of paralysis of being scared to do the actual thing, like because they don't feel like a lot of work. Like, oh, I'm gonna do a website, I'm gonna get my colors, I'm gonna do this, and I was like, that's not actually work. So I would want to preface that if that's the case that Latasha wants to build her clientele, then do the thing to build the clientele first before we start doing all this stuff. But like I said, because that's what I always see, like, oh, I need business cards. Like, no, you need clients. Get clients first, and then we can worry about business cards.
Strong agree. And I mean, if Latasha was here, I would also tell her disregard everything else we said. That is the main answer. But to be a little bit more helpful in the conversation for coaches on our PN coaches community, yeah, we'll give them some practical advice as well. But yeah, you are largely correct. And I can recall back to my own experience starting as a coach. When I started using ProCoach, I was like, well, I should probably create a website now because I have all the other things, but I need a website, I need a LinkedIn, I need all those things. ProCoach has this like very low fuss. You can set it up in about 2 minutes, a landing page. And I created that. And before I had time to think about any other details, I already had clients. And then it's been about 8 years and I've been too busy to worry about the other stuff. So I would agree with you strongly there, Tony, that you don't need high level branding. You don't need to have stationery with your name monogrammed at the top of it. You need clients. If this is a legitimate concern for you, then it's like, yes, address it. But if not, make sure that you're spending the time where it's actually valuable, which is connecting with people. Cool. Let's move to our second discussion for today. And let me see if I can pull that one up real quick. So our second discussion today, again, pulled from the PN Coaches community, was regarding non-judgmental advice for someone who's trying to lose weight but enjoys alcohol. And I believe in the longer description, this coach was sharing that they have a client, they are working with them right now. They believe one of the roadblocks that their client is experiencing is that they have roughly 2 drinks per night, on average about 4 times per week, which if you've worked with people for long enough, you will likely have this client at some point. I have this client right now and we're in week 3. But I'm curious to know, coaches, how do you work through that conversation with your clients? Is there anything that you bring up there? Is that something that you address early? How do you sequence that within the coaching experience? Christina, and then Anna, I'm coming to you after.
Hello, everyone. Again, I would dive into the question of why behind it, right? Because I did have, like everybody else, like you, Jeremy, said, a client who would have 14 to 16 drinks a week. And we dived into the question, what is bringing, like why that behavior is happening 6 to 7 days a week? What is bringing that passion for it? And it ended up just the routine, right? So now this client barely drinks. He's only a social drinker. And it started from just basically asking and learning more about client's story. And my particular example was he enjoyed the cocktails with his wife before dinner every night, right? So that was their thing. That's what they've done. And I asked him, I was like, well, is it like, what exactly do you like about it? It's like that connection. Unfortunately, his wife ended up being in the hospital long term. But the habit still existed when he would come from the hospital home every night. And eventually he started replacing that with sparkling water because it was more just about the routine, just about getting to that process of unwinding and relaxing. And he realized that it's not necessarily alcohol that was kind of giving him that satisfaction. It was the routine. And eventually, by just simply substituting that with the sparkling water, he reduced his alcohol intake. Again, I know I simplified it. It wasn't as simple and as speedy, right? We tried a lot of things. We went through a lot of trials and actions, and that's what works for him. But it started from the why and making him encourage him through your questions to think why it's happening, what is he getting from it, and how it affects him and what's holding him back. And he came to that conclusion on his own through the questions, through the experience. And yeah, so that was my experience. I hope it was helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Christina. Anyone else? Or Anna, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I've heard Dom talk about this, Coach Dom talk about this quite a bit. And I like his approach. He talks about coming at it from indirectly and discussing exercises or techniques for calming, techniques for resilience would be my input. And I think what it does is it just it brings down the level of anxiety to a point where that if that's the root cause, that's not the go-to, because you don't have the anxiety. So you're alleviating this, you're managing the stress better, you're chilling the feelings on their own naturally. So it's not like this thing that you need to use to calm yourself down. But he said he never had it head on, which I thought was interesting, and I think it's great that you're successful that way too, Christina. So, I mean, every different approaches for different clients, right? We have to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Coach Dom. His wisdom is legendary and always useful and applicable, and especially in this situation. I think the thing that Anna is sensing here, and maybe other coaches have sensed in the past as well with this client or with these types of clients, and you can substitute other things in for alcohol. It may be a specific food, it may be a specific form of movement or resistance to a specific form of movement. Anytime where you start to experience that kind of resistance from a client, you could tackle it head on and get really direct about it and just let the client know, hey, these are things that we need to tackle in order to succeed. But then I would ask the question, like, is that actually true? Are there other things that we can be successful with here while allowing this to kind of just simmer in the background? It is often okay for us to note that it's like, I'm working with a client. This is something that is clearly going to impact their health, but it may not be the only thing. And while it may have kind of attachments to other areas of their health, like cigarette smoking is another one that I think is quite common, less common these days than it used to be. Maybe we'll see what happens with vaping in the next 10 to 15 years, how that influences people's health. But they may not be ready for that level of change at this time, and letting them know, hey, let's work on other things in the meantime, and then we can circle back to this conversation if and when it's still applicable. So not trying to kind of pull something away from someone when they feel like it is quite connected to them and they're just not ready to make that level of change yet. That's super useful. Thank you. Coaches, anyone else been in this scenario, either as a professional, maybe personally? What did you do to try and work through this conversation? Tony, what do you got?
Yeah, I've been through this scenario a fair amount of times, and I've had it blow up in my face a good amount of times to know that, hey, this is not going to work. And if they don't, for me, from what I understand from the post, it's a non-negotiable. So for me, when someone stresses a non-negotiable, it's not up to me to tell you what to do and not to do. And so I would start exploring different options of, if they're not losing weight, it's obviously a lot of factors that they're not executing on a lot of different fronts. So I would even back it up into that, into like, okay, like let's figure this out together. But I would take alcohol completely off the table because it's a non-negotiable.
Amazing. Yep, understanding that my knowledge, my understanding as a coach, my even desires or the way that I live as a coach, if someone else has something where it's like, hey, I'm not willing to give that up, but it doesn't align with what I believe to be in best practice for health, it doesn't matter. That one
Right.
just goes off the table temporarily. And then after we've optimized for all the other things, are we still in a place where we haven't reached a desirable result? Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
One thing I will add.
Jeremy, it just
Oh, go
reminds
ahead.
me of when I started as a trainer and people were smoking. And so my instinct was like, oh, you should stop smoking. Like that never works. Like that's never worked. And so ever since then, I've learned over the years, like, okay, you got to meet clients where they're at, ready, willing, and able. And eventually they come to that realization on their own, but we're talking about like maybe years or decades later. But if they come in like, hey, I'm not gonna stop drinking. Like, damn, already, like this kid's already telling me that. Like, it's probably leave this alone, dude. Let's build some more equity first before we can start moving those pieces.
Yep, and there even may be actually a valuable piece of the coaching relationship to recognize there, where someone feels comfortable enough to tell you, hey, this is a boundary for me, even if I don't agree with the thing. Just the fact that they're sharing that with me at this time is very useful to our work moving forward because it lets me know they're going to advocate for themselves. And no matter what we're working on in the coaching space, if a client doesn't agree with the strategy to move forward, then that is very useful information. And it's up to me to say, okay, what other spaces can I probe into and say, hey, is there work for us to do there? If you're not willing to do this thing or you don't want to touch that thing, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go Jules first and then Anna.
Hi, I just wanted to add into this conversation. So about a decade ago, I had a couple of my clients as a personal trainer, wanting to sort of get in better shape and eat better and all of that. And I was just very kind of naive and just like, oh yeah, you just need to like cut the alcohol out, and didn't really have a lot of compassion or understanding for someone who wasn't necessarily like alcohol use disorder, but was using it as a way to sort of meet some other need of winding down at night, that type of thing. And something that I recently discovered in about the last, I guess it's like 2.5, 3 years, that I have referred people to that has been hugely successful and helpful is an app. And you can send your client to it. They can do it for free. I believe at least like 3 years ago, it was 2 weeks, I believe, for free. But what's really cool about this app is somebody can either cut back, they can go on the cutback track if they're like kind of considering like, oh, I wonder how much alcohol do I really drink? And they have like a tracker in there, and they have a lot of neuro education and habit changing education. And then there's also a track for someone who actually maybe is more of like alcohol use disorder. But that for me has been, I give sort of like the overall synopsis and support. But if somebody wants to really deep dive into it and needs a little bit more support, this particular app, and I don't know if I'm allowed to like actually say what it is. Am
I
I?
assume it's Sunnyside, but you can say it if it's, you can say the name of the app.
Okay, it's Reframe.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's wildly popular and very, very successful. So especially for people, it's not like AA, it's more like a science-based behavioral change app, and they make it super fun. There's like games, and there's so much stuff on there I couldn't even tell you about it, but people can pick and choose. And I have seen a lot of success with people renegotiating their relationship with alcohol, and not necessarily always going alcohol free, sometimes just cutting back to where it's like, okay, I'm going to have one glass of wine on the weekend, with my husband versus every single night. So anyway, just thought I'd jump in and share because I'm really excited about it. It's been super helpful for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jules. Feel free to put a link to the app in the chat box if people want to check it out while we continue the discussion. Anna, you had your hand up.
Yes, I was thinking about a talk I heard. There's some kind of coach. I don't know what he was doing, but I liked what he talked about when he said, when you look at your life and your actions and your surroundings, your environments and all these things, just pointing out or bringing attention and awareness to what isn't a match. And so whatever that set of things is, even if alcohol isn't the first thing, it's definitely a way to get started in reframing how you see yourself and how you express yourself, because everything around you, right, is an expression of you and where you are. So I just liked that. It was really a simple way to assess and make changes.
Awesome. That is very useful. Thank you for sharing. Let me just take a quick look and see if there's anything else in this discussion that people found useful or that was mentioned within the discussion itself. I'll say personally, like, what would be my approach, or what would be the advice that I would share with this client if they were here, if they were asking for my advice? It would likely be dependent on level of alcohol use and how impactful I think it is to their overall progress. So at this stage, as Jules was mentioning, it's like part of our role as a coach here is to understand. Someone says, alcohol, I'm not willing to talk about it. We probably need a little bit more information just because it's going to have some level of influence on our progress from a health perspective. It's going to make some things more challenging. It's going to add more calories to their diet. It's pertinent information. Once we have kind of that information there, if I believe that this is something where this is more than likely going to impact our progress and progress forward, but also this may be in alcohol use dependency, then as a coach, you have to decide, is this a point of referral for me? Where this person's alcohol use is going to not only impact kind of immediate short-term progress, but I believe that this disordered use is becoming like something where a medical intervention is required for this person. By and large, you're not going to have the majority of your clients work in this space unless this is, again, a message that you share with a lot of folks or you particularly work in that space. Your average coach is not going to see that very often. So if you're working with someone where this is more casual drinking, enough to maybe influence outcomes, I would just let them know, here is where you are likely to notice some of the drawbacks of drinking. If you're not ready to make any changes right now, let's focus our attention elsewhere. And then as those drawbacks start to influence our work, maybe we can have that conversation again, but it's not something that we need to address as our A1 priority. As we know with most folks, there are a myriad of skills that we can teach them, and they would have benefit as well, even if that thing is not addressed just yet. So I would encourage folks to take a look at that discussion as well. If there's anything that you feel like contributing there, you see or you haven't seen mentioned already, get in some coaching reps, add your voice to that conversation as well. Likely a useful one for us to keep in our back pocket as coaches and reference if you find yourself in a similar position. We have about 10 more minutes. Is there anything else that folks want to dive into for today? And Julius, thank you for sharing the link to that app.
I think I might use this for my client who's addicted to salt. I might have her get the reframe app.
By all means, use any of these coaching strategies. Yeah, I mean, alcohol here could likely be substituted for other use-based issues where it's like our relationship with that thing is not serving us well.
I just had a question, I guess, for all the coaches in here. With the end of the year approaching in the last 6 weeks of the year, what is everyone's focus on as far as marketing strategies, as far as like client retention, or are they getting ready for Q1, or what's everyone's focus right now?
Excellent question, Tony. Coaches, what are you currently working on?
I feel like I'm at square one. I just like, and I just learned all this stuff. And now I'm like, how do you do it? And I really did meet this gal head on with the sulk. She keeps saying, well, I can't walk. So I took the pain meds. And I'm like, well, stop tickling yourself. I don't know what to say. I just, I caught myself and I was just like, this is not a coachy conversation. You're not doing it. And so I do feel like I need to get in a lot of reps, a lot of reps. It's just not my, it wasn't how I ever was modeled for me. It's not how I roll. And I really want to shift. It's important.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Tony, for myself, for some client strategies, I'm looking to open up a few more spaces, probably about 6 coaching spots within the new year. So on my list for the last quarter is just to reach out to some of my regular referral sources. And I'm looking to try and pilot a paid referral program that I've never done before. So I have some folks that I want to talk to. First, I have to make sure that ethically, many of them are in the medical field. I'm like, I don't know if I can pay you to do this. They've just sent me people without any kind of prompt before. They're like, hey, you helped this person, therefore maybe you can help this another person. But I want to try and formalize that a little bit. So I have to figure out some of how that would work. And then I'm just going to start with having a conversation with folks. So right now I'm just touching base with some of them, booking time to go meet up and then hang out, maybe do a workout and then have those conversations.
Are you shutting down like your marketing and all your stuff like in the last, week of the year, or taking time off or anything like that?
I will be taking some time off, so end of December and then mid-December as well. So that last month, I'm not going to be like full high throttle with anything else. Just maintaining kind of current client loads, and then yeah, for me, most of my marketing looks like maintaining strong relationships with other professionals. So I will look to kind of bolster those relationships a little bit more over the next few weeks. I'll be doing some travel as well, so likely not going to meet up with too many people in person. But a lot of it just looks like sending a message, hey, how are you doing? Here's an update on some of the people that you sent my way. And then if there's a moment for us to connect, let me know. I'd love to jump on a phone call with you or grab lunch with you or do a workout, depending on how local they are.
So the bulk of your clients are coming in from it sounds like a professional network referral.
Yeah, mostly physios and doctors.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the way that well, for one, this works for me because my undergraduate degree is in kinesiology. So a lot of my friends from university days are now practicing professionals as chiropractors, physiotherapists, related kind of professionals there. And then I have a few also who are family doctors. So for those folks, they're kind of overloaded, thanks Canadian medical system. And they're just looking for ways where it's like, if I can reduce some of my patient interactions and then give them support in another way that doesn't add more paperwork to me, they're more than happy to refer. But I'm curious to know if we can formalize that pathway in any way and if there's a greater incentive for them also sending people my way.
I love, and
Yeah,
then
without any stepping on any ethical considerations first.
I love that. And then you're mostly one-on-one, right? Correct?
Yes, the majority of my work outside of PN is, or actually the entirety of my work outside of PN is one-on-one work.
Yeah, no, I love that. And Jeremy, thanks for sharing. I just always think like, okay, I wonder what everyone else is doing. Because right now, the way I look at my business, like, okay, November and December, just really like hold strong my client base. That's really what I want to do, is make
Mhm.
sure these guys are showing up, doing the work. And then once January hits, everyone's like, yeah, let's do this. And so holding on to the strong base and then planning that Q1 of, any launches I got coming up, any marketing strategies, and then really backing that up so I can really cement myself for a good, 25. I love that networking luncheon.
Yeah,
That's
I
super.
mean, I think focus for a lot of professionals right now should be on, we know that, especially as a one-on-one professional where you're working with people individually, their time will likely be compromised because routines will change through the holiday season. So just having those conversations about how are we going to navigate the holiday season together? How can I continue to support you there while also likely taking some time for myself? So for my clients who are currently working with me, just making sure I'm like, I'm asking questions regarding, hey, what does the holiday season look for you? Will you be traveling? Is there any interruption to our coaching? And then reminding them that here's our method of continuing our contact or our work together through that period in terms of asynchronous check-ins and other means of communication that are not as direct one-on-one. One, so that it's like I have a way of still maintaining kind of those touch points and those relationships, because after a period, any like holiday period or any period where like I notice that there's some downtime on my end, a few more clients will typically drop off than I'm used to, which makes sense. It's like, oh, they've had some time to reflect, they've had some time to kind of be solo, and they may say like, you know what, I actually did okay in this time period. I think I'm fine. This is probably going to be my last month with my coach. That makes sense. I want to make sure that for as many of them as possible, they see at least the value of remaining with me, even if it means slightly less contact during this time, and then we resume later on. I also try and demonstrate like what is the value of having this time where it's like a little less direct contact. It's typically framed as a time where you get to practice some of your coaching strategies without having a coach and just see what it feels like. If you feel like when you come back to this, like, yeah, I'm in a much better place. I handled this holiday period much better than I have in the past. It may be appropriate for us to be like, cool, we're done here. And then for some other folks, they may say, yes, I did a good job, but here are some other things I want to work on. So yeah, maintenance and then building or maintaining relationships are probably the two keys for me for the next 2 months. Tony, is there anything that you're working on in particular?
No, I was just solidifying my December marketing plan, and I got I'm finishing up Q1 and stuff, but trying to add probably like my coaching is basically full. I'm just trying to really fill up my group coaching program, and so that's
Gotcha.
really like the main drive. But I'm always eager to learn and see what everyone else is doing. But I love that you tapped into that referral network, because I got a lot of doctors that are friends and all that stuff, and what I've had a lot of success with is more through the corporate side. So most of my like my group coaching clients all came to that corporate side. So that's what I'm trying to leverage right now. It's like, okay, like it looks like right now is a really good time to just set up these appointments, talk to my friends that are entrepreneurs that have the businesses, so that when we get ready, because January is just like there's going to be so much flux, so much incoming in January. It's like how do I catch it all without letting this stuff fall? Because then I'll have it November again, right?
Yep. The cycle will continue, but I'm glad to see that, yeah, you've put a good deal of thought into this, and it sounds like you have some specific avenues that you want to focus on, which is fantastic. And I'll give you the final note before we sign off for today.
I'm just curious if people find that when they introduce themselves as a wellness coach and then someone says, what does that mean? Or do you more specifically say, I help people with this or that? Because I find that people just don't really understand why that would be, what the concept is, or why they would need it, or why their friends would need it.
So from that question, just to give you some direction real quick before I sign off for today, if you were here in the first few moments where we had this conversation, understanding, going all the way back to Sharif's point, being able to articulate the problem that you are solving. So when you say, hey, I'm a wellness coach, if you just leave it as like dead air after that, it's up to interpretation. So they may have had previous experiences with wellness coaches. They may have been good experiences. They may have been not good experiences. But if you go, I'm a wellness coach who focuses on solving this problem, then that person can then look internally and say, oh yes, I've either faced that problem or I know people who have faced that problem. It becomes a lot more apparent what your value is. And hopefully the response that you typically should aim for there is like that they'll ask more questions and then start a conversation. Because if they start a conversation, then you can share more of those points about your experience, what it is you do, how you accomplish those things, where you work, how they can potentially send you people. That is how we want to kind of advance that conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. We'll leave it here for today, folks. Thank you all for your contribution. Hopefully we'll use this style where we're going to pull more conversations from our community and then add those to the responses that people are getting within that community as well. But thank you for coming to collect your coaching reps today. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you.